Hey everyone, welcome back to Body Haven Soaps. Today's video is going to be on making the activated charcoal face bar and go over the ingredients and the recipe that I use for this. As far as a soap recipe goes, guys, I mean, I'll tell you the oils I use, the percentages I use, but you should always put soap recipes into the soap calculator. And make sure that that bar is exactly what you're looking for, okay? So we'll go over that, but I will talk about the ingredients and why I'm adding those into this bar. This is one of my most popular bars, so I'm doing a fairly good sized batch today. Nothing too, you know, not hundreds of bars, but a fairly good sized recipe. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and hopefully you enjoy this. This channel is all about going over recipes, why we add certain ingredients, learning and creating together. So I do provide recipes throughout. It is just base recipes for you guys to use and modify and change into whatever it is that you're looking to create. We are all creators and we should all have our own perspective and understanding of that. So welcome and hope you enjoy. So let's get started. So first of all, the soap base that I'm using, so the oils, and I have my glasses and my gloves, long sleeve shirt. I always wear an apron, so make sure that you are protecting yourself. So long sleeve shirts, goggles to protect your eyes are pretty important, okay? We will be using activated charcoal, so a face mask to prevent you inhaling those fine particles is important in recipes like this too. All right, so for the basic soap recipe, you guys, I don't go too crazy because I do a lot of additives into this bar to add properties that I'm looking for in this bar. So I don't do a really fancy soap recipe. I do a very basic soap recipe, and I use my additives to bring up the properties in this bar. So in this soap recipe, I have palm oil, olive oil, and coconut oil. Okay, and I do equal parts, and then I have a small amount of castor oil to add in moisture to the bar. So I do, I'm doing 21.8 ounces of the palm, 21.8 of the olive oil, 21.8 ounces of the coconut, and then I do 2.8 ounces of the castor oil. As I said, I would put this into a soap calculator, soap calc. I have a video on how to use a soap calc that I've done previously. You can go back and watch, and I would put that in there, and then you get your percentages. It tells you what properties that bar has, all those kinds of things. So it's a really good idea with your soap recipe to do that. But that is the oils I am using today and the percentages that I'm using, or amounts I'm using, okay? Now for the water portion of this soap bar, I am using actually aloe vera juice, okay, to bring that healing properties. Now for the water portion, I do a small discount, and my water percentage is 35%. But I do use honey in this bar, so I don't want it to be too discounted. All right, and for the water or aloe vera juice in this, I do 23.87. Now I save a couple ounces of this aloe vera juice that I do not mix in the lye to mix my clays in prior to adding them to my oils. So, but a total, and you can just add it all in here if you want, but a total is 23.87 for liquids, and I use aloe vera juice in mine. And then the lye is 9.88. As I said, I would take that and put it into soap calc, print it off, so you actually have this soap calc recipe that gives you everything on it, and this is what I would put in my recipe book for this. All right, so we're gonna get started here. I'm just gonna move the camera so that you can see the countertop a little bit better, and we will start going over how we make this. Okay, so this is my oil mixture here that I just told you about, okay? And my lye and aloe vera has been, and I soap at room temperature, so these were melted down previously and brought down to room temperature. and we have our mixer. So I'm just going to make sure these oils are blended well together. Just a couple quick. Okay. Okay, so I have that done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my clays into this so that they're well dispersed and I don't get lumps and chunks. I do put honey and quite a bit of clays in this recipe. I love clays and soaps. So this is going to probably accelerate a little bit faster. It's going to heat up. So I want to get the clays in and make sure they're well dispersed first. So let's go over that. So just move this out of the way for a second. All right, so this is the 2 ounces of aloe vera juice I left separate to mix my clays in. Now, I don't mix my activated charcoal in here, but these clays, some of them really do absorb a lot of fluids, so it will get kind of thick, but it helps to kind of break it down. So the reason I put these additives in, okay, so this is kaolin clay, and it is a very good mild exfoliator. It does bring moisture to the skin, which we want in a facial bar, and it leaves the skin feeling nice and soft. So I love this clay in all my soaps. I use kaolin clay, but for this, that is why this is going in here. I also have a Dead Sea clay, and when it comes to the Dead Sea clay, it does have some abilities to be able to pull impurities away from the skin. It is a mild exfoliant, but it also does help with healing properties of the skin, inflammation, things like that. There's a lot of minerals and vitamins in it, so it's very good for the skin. So that is the reason I'm putting this into my facial bar. And then I have bentonite clay. Now, for this recipe, you guys, I have 1 ounce of the kaolin clay, and I have half an ounce of each one of these clays. So I have, for the kaolin clay, I got half an ounce, okay, Dead Sea clay, half an ounce, and then the bentonite clay, half an ounce. Now, the bentonite clay, it's one of the powerhouses of clays. It does absorb a lot of oils and stuff. Remembering this bar is a rinse-off product, so I'm not making any medical claims here whatsoever. I've just done some research. I understand what properties these have. Now, if you had a mask, obviously that's going to stay on the skin and be able to draw more oils and impurities out. But I do really like this facial bar. This is what I use, and I have customers that are just in love with it. They call it my gold bar, even though it's black, because they just absolutely love it on their skin. So the bentonite clay has got a lot of absorption. It is a bit of a stronger clay, so it can dry the skin out because its ability to pull oil and secretions out of the pores. But like I say, a mask would be a more intense, and that's where we can have a lot of drying of the skin and irritation of the skin. With a wash-off product, putting half an ounce in, I don't find a problem at all with that. So that is the reasons of these clays. Clays have large amounts of minerals and things like that that are just great for the skin. So I love using them in my soaps, okay? I also have 1 ounce of the activated charcoal. Now, I put a lot of activated charcoal in this. Probably more than most soapers do. It is what I find. It is a very mild exfoliant, so it helps break open the pores and get that small amount of dead skin cells off your face. It's not a very abrasive exfoliant. It does have a lot of antibacterial properties and absorption properties, and is well known for facial care of pores and things like that. Once again, making no medical claims. These are the reasons I am putting these in, okay? So for right now, let's mix in our clays. So I will grab, I'm actually just going to grab a stick here. So we're going to mix the clay in here, okay? And I just mix it up and I make a paste so that when I put it into my soap batch, it doesn't get all clumpy in there and it mixes a lot easier. Now this one doesn't absorb a lot of water, so that's why I like to mix it in first. Okay, and then we have our Dead Sea clay, which does absorb a lot more. You'll see when I put that in, it's going to thicken this up quite a bit. But I've got 2 ounces here, so I should have lots to mix this in, but you can see how it's getting lumpy, and that is why I like to mix it into some aloe vera juice prior to adding it to my oils, so that I don't have those lumps in my oil. Okay, and then the bentonite clay. And I don't mix the activated charcoal in here only because I find it puffs up a lot, so I like to just put that right in my oil. And you can see the bentonite clay can hold a lot of moisture, so this is going to thicken up quite a bit. So you can see how it draws stuff into it. That's the property of the bentonite clay. So it gets pretty thick. Okay, but I'm just going to make this into a paste. So I'm actually going to grab a little spatula. So you can see how that thickened up. That bentonite clay really does absorb a lot. Okay, and I've got 1/2 ounce. Oops, making a mess. Don't worry, we all make messes. Drives us crazy. Okay, so I just want to get all the lumps out, and then I will use my processor here, my hand mixer. So I'm going to get this in there before I spill more of it. I've got majority of the lumps out, and it has absorbed a lot of that fluid. Maybe a bigger bowl with more sides so you don't make such a mess, because I've got quite a mess going, but that's okay. That's just part of soaping. Try and keep things as tidy as we can. It just never works well. Sometimes it works out. All right, so now I'm just going to make sure that this gets dispersed well into my oils. Okay, so I have that in there. I'm going to now put my lye in and start getting this process going. So this is lye dissolved in the aloe vera juice. We're going to get that in there so we can start the emulsification process. And you'll see this change color as it starts to emulsify. Okay, now let's get our activated charcoal in there. So I'm just going to put this activated charcoal right on top, and I'm going to use this to push it down so I don't get so much dust in the air. It's a very fine powder. You might see it puff up a little bit. If we do this, you'll see the little puffs. I don't know if you can see that. So you may want to wear a mask while you're doing this. It's very fine powders that you will be inhaling. Oh, there you can see for sure. So we want to make sure that we get that mixed in because it is a very fine powder, and I am being very gentle to stir this in. See, that's mixed in really well, and we've got good emulsification there. Okay, so we've got this in here and all of our clays. Now this is a lot of clays in a bar, but I'm not too worried about it, you guys, because yes, it can be a lot of clays, but it's a rinse off product. So this isn't going to sit on your skin for a long period of time. So we want to get the most amount of benefits out of this as we can. All right, now I also add in vitamin C powder, okay, and it is an oil soluble vitamin C powder. And I just use one of these scoops, which is 1.25 cc's, and that's what I will add into this batch. Now, vitamin C is really good for the skin. Remembering this is a wash-off product, so it doesn't sit on the skin for long periods of time, but I add 1 scoop into this whole batch. So I'm not adding a whole lot. But I want to mix that in there for the properties of the vitamin C. Just like when we put into our shampoo bars or anything like that, we put these things in to bring properties to the product, but it is a rinse-off product. So we want to make sure that we are getting those benefits. Essential oils that I will be adding to this bar are going to be peppermint essential oil, and I get mine from Voyager Soap. Peppermint is, oh, not peppermint, sorry, tea tree oil. Why is my peppermint here? I can smell tea tree, and that's what made me think of it. So it is the tea tree oil that I will be putting in here. It has a very good antibacterial properties. It's known for use of antibacterial on skin. Those types of things, and rosemary oil. Okay, so tea tree and rosemary essential oils, and use your fragrance percentages, your essential oil calculator, fragrance calculator. Brambleberry has a great one to figure out how much you're going to put in according to whatever soap recipe you use. With mine, I'm using 1.5 ounces between the two. Rosemary is known for helping with inflammation, swelling, and redness of the skin, so that is why I'm putting it in there. So I have tea tree oil and I have rosemary essential oils. That is what's going in here for the properties of this bar. And I also have some local honey. Now you know, when you add sugars, natural sugars, even like honey, when you add those to a soap recipe, that's what's going to make this a solid bar, and it's going to heat up. So I don't cover this, but you may get some soap frosting, okay, some ash on your soap, because it is going to heat this up. But honey also has antibacterial and moisturizing properties with a lot of vitamins. So I put in 1.5 ounces of honey into this recipe. And then 1.5 ounces of the 2 essential oils. Okay, and we will blend this in, and that is everything that's going into this recipe. that is it. And we will pour this into our molds. Just going to set this here. I make a few different facial bars. This is the recipe I use for my activated charcoal. I just want to make sure everything is mixed in really good here. And when you stir it like this, it helps get a little bit of air bubbles you may have gotten in there out as well. All right, I'm going to pour it into this because it's a little easier to pour into my round molds. And let's get my round molds over here. All right, these are the molds that I use for my facial bars. And I just have them, so I kind of make sure that they're sitting flat because they like to curl up a little bit, these ones. And I put them on a tray like this so that I can just go put them on the rack out of my way so I can keep working on other products. But these are the molds that I use. I got them from Amazon. I believe you get a pack of 4 for 15 bucks or something. Okay guys, so I've given these all a really good spray with the 99% rubbing alcohol because I know I am going to get soda ash. The backs are a little bit rough, but that's okay. I can run them over the planer and smooth the backs out. And now I just let them sit for 24 hours and then I will pull them out of the molds. Okay, so thanks for watching. You have any questions or any tips or tricks saying let's create together is kind of the whole idea of this channel. So let me know what you think. Ask any questions that you want down below and I will do my best to answer those for you. All right, thanks for watching and I hope the rest of your day is great.